Welcome to the Rambling Ram. My name is Keller Strauss, and today I am joined by Xaiver Stockman, the senior who just graduated.
Just about.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Graduation itself is like next Sunday, but other than AP test, I'm done. I'm free. Everything's great, man. Sunshine and lollipops and rainbows, man.
Nice. Do you have any finals that you're making up? Are you coming back for anything other than today, or are you out of here?
Today I had like a math final, well, not final, I guess AP exam, but like basically the final. I don't know. And then I have two more AP tests of psychology and then physics mechanics. Psychology is gonna be so free, dude. Genuinely, it's gonna be so free. And then physics is, if I get a 3 on that, I think I will be the luckiest person alive.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you.
I just have finals. I don't have anything interesting going on.
I mean, you are a freshman. That makes
It's
sense.
just finals. So, when you came to Ladue, when you arrived and you were joining clubs, how did you get into what is now the Dungeons and Dragons Club?
Um, well, I knew it existed before I came here because my older sister had come to high school before and she had been in the club, but not too much because she got so wrapped up in theater. So I knew it existed, but I didn't know like its current state. And then when the club fair came around, um, there's this guy. He's been out of Ladue for 2 or 3 years now. His name is Levi Miller. And he was the one running the club fair for what was then Roleplay Club and is now D&D Club. Um, he was not very gentle about it. He would like physically grab someone and like drag them over to the booth and be like, "You need to join this club right now." With me, he pointed at me and said, "You look like a twink. Twinks need to be playing D&D." That is his quote. Quote said very loudly among a large crowd of freshmen in Ladue.
And who was this teacher?
Oh, this wasn't a teacher. This was a student.
This was a
This
student.
was a student, Levi Miller. Yep, he was a character, but he was a big D&D guy.
Was he a senior at the time?
No, he was a junior. No, so just so yeah. But I mean he was fun. I ended up DMing for him a few years later.
And for those who don't know, DMing is leading a game
Yes.
of Dungeons and Dragons. So when you joined what was then Role Playing Club, what did that look like? Because I know it didn't look like anything that we have today.
Yeah. Um so at the time, honestly the big difference was it was very hands off for everyone in the club. Like you would sign up, come to the first meeting. First meeting, they would explain like what D&D was. It was very loose as well. So like, it was just the seniors of the club would explain what D&D was. They didn't have like any slideshows or anything like set up. It was very much so just like, oh yeah, you guys might not know what D&D is, but you might have joined the club anyways. So they explained that. They also, my freshman year, explained a game called Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which is like if D&D had a super edgy older brother. It is pretty fun, but it's a lot more complex. But I explained both of those, and then at the end they sent out a Google form that was literally just who are people that you want to play with. Great, we'll try to keep you with those people. You didn't know the themes of any of the campaigns. You didn't know who any of the DMs were. You didn't know, like, if you didn't put down like list of your friends, you would know nothing about what was coming, which was kind of like a fun mystery, but also like if you got stuck with a group you didn't like, they would fall apart really quickly.
Not everyone wants a fun mystery when it comes to playing sometimes vulnerable games with people you don't know.
Yes, exactly. Um, so I got assigned to, it was almost all seniors DMing. I guess this is important. There was like one group, maybe two groups that weren't seniors DMing. And they were already preset, like they were playing outside of school anyways and just decided to do it through the club because, hour and a half after school. It's great. I got assigned this girl named Damien. And it was very like, she knew how to play the game and expected us to know. And so like I was one of the only ones in the group who actually like knew how to make a character in the first place or like how to play the game, which was all right. I like explaining things to people like that, like I'm not like kind of just teaching my friends about the stuff I'm interested in. So it ended up being me and the DM like working together to get this group to know how to play the game. Um, uh, it was very loose. Like there was very little support from even within the club of like keeping itself running. Mr. White didn't like really do all that much, although that didn't really change throughout the years. But like he would show up and then he wouldn't even acknowledge half the groups. But that's whatever.
Now you've graduated. So now you're not the president of the club. But until, what was it, last week?
Yep, last Monday.
You were the president of the club. So when did you become the president of what is now Dungeons and Dragons Club?
I officially became the president my like end of my sophomore year. But I was like helping run the club during my sophomore year. It was kind of like I had decided I wanted to be a dungeon master. And then there was other people who like were doing it, but they weren't super into it, and so I was helping them a lot. And because I was helping them run their games and like organize their groups, they just kind of defaulted to me running some stuff. And so then I was like, okay, we should put labels on this because it's, for a group that's very about not actually putting labels on stuff, it really helps to put a label on it. So I was like, hey, Mr. White, can we have it so there's like named positions for the club? Because then people know who to go to like ask for help or do XYZ. And at the time, we had 4 positions. I had like a poll set up for, and anyone like literally just the list was so huge. It was most of the people were like running for some job initially, and then I explained like what they were, and like almost everyone dropped out like immediately. But it was president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. Treasurer was going to be in charge of seeing if we could buy T-shirts that year. Secretary was going to try to keep track of like what was going on in each campaign, which sounds like a horrible job. And then president and vice president, which are the only 2 ones that have stayed around, were organizing the groups, running the club fair, and then like helping deal with issues. Um, I was the only one who actually stayed in the running for president after like the initial conversation about it. My girlfriend, Natalie, she was the only one who wanted to be vice president. Same with, I believe it was secretary was Lachlan Woodcock. And then there was 2 people who wanted to do treasurer, someone who was a senior, which I don't remember why she stayed in the running anyways, and then him, he was on this podcast before, Ben Reiser. So Ben, I think, won that, if I remember correctly. But then those roles didn't actually do anything then in my junior year because we just didn't need them for much. Um, yeah, I was like, hey, I want to help people. It's easier if people know that I have a title to go help them. I don't know. That's how I became president.
When you became president, did it immediately start to shift towards a different style of club? Or was it the same kind of club? It was just now had titles.
Um, Honestly, it did kind of begin to shift. So, like, the D&D community kind of has a few stigmas around it that not everyone agrees with, and not, most of them aren't accurate, but they exist, and it's unfortunate, but they do. And part of this is there's like stereotypes of certain people that do or don't play D&D. Like when I say I'm president of D&D club, people will chuckle, which is fine. Whatever. I love D&D. It's fine. However, that also made it so that way some people who were interested in playing D&D didn't really want to join as much. But when I became president, one of the first things I did was I went out and reminded everyone in the club, and I was like, and everyone who wasn't even in the club, I was like, hey, I'm president of D&D club, and I'm like talking to you about this, right? I'm not like ashamed of this. You need to make sure that other people aren't ashamed of being in the club or aren't ashamed of being interested in the club. And that was honestly the first and biggest shift that kind of happened after I became president of the club was just trying to make sure that D&D club and D&D as a cultural thing in Ladue at least stayed open to everyone, and kind of helped ward off the negative stereotypes. But besides that, everything else that D&D club became after I became president was just kind of a slow shift.
When you became president, you almost like started advertising the club. When did it become D&D club? Because I know you said for a while it was role-playing club. So when did it become D&D club, and why did it become D&D club?
So kind of towards winter break of my junior year, there was these. I guess they were kind of my friends. It was like if like you have friends in school, but you don't talk to them outside of school, like that. And they were like, "So you're president of role play club. What do you guys do over there? Like some weird, freaky BDSM stuff?" That was their direct questions to me. And a teacher overheard this, and instead of like asking them to be like, "Hey, don't talk about that in school," they were also like, "Yeah, what's up with that?" So that day, I went to Mr. White and was like, hey man, people don't think we're that kind of club, man. They don't man." So he had to like email one of his bosses. I don't remember. There's so many admins. And then I was like, we could call it D&D club, and he was like, we could call it TTRPG club, which was originally the like what I was chill with doing.
For sure. Tabletop
But
role playing games.
yes, tabletop role playing games. However, other people in the club at the time had no idea that that's what that stood for. And the thing is, whenever someone hears role playing club and I explain to them what it is, they just go, "Oh, so D&D club." So I was just like, okay, we'll call it D&D club. Even though we have like Warhammer campaigns playing. That year we had someone playing this cool Marvel game that was really interesting. It was like D6 based, so 6-sided dice based, and like super very different from normal D&D, but it was still like in the club. But we changed the name of it, so in like the attendance form it was changed, and then for the actual club fair, the giant poster me and my girlfriend had made said D&D club instead of role playing club.
The things that these people have said are going to make me have to tag this as an explicit video.
I'm so sorry.
Because this is great. No, it's fine. So we have the shift. We're now Dungeons and Dragons Club. Was there anything you had to do to almost re-spark popularity in something like this? Because you said a lot of people were hesitant to join something that had stereotypes around it. So you moved to clear that up. Do you have to do anything else to really grow the club and to create a popular club? Because today, it's one of the larger clubs I'm a part of. It is pretty well done. We have, I want to say there were 5 campaigns this year.
There was 6 campaigns. One of them wasn't through the club, like really, like I didn't really help organize them at all. But they would come to the club and like play at the club. But there was 5 organized campaigns. And in the initial sign up, from just the sign up form, not like returning members, there was around 40 to 50 people on top of the existing members.
Good. I'm looking through the classroom now that I've, gotten vice president. I'm like going through people and it's like, oh boy, this is a lot of people. This is a lot to manage. But you don't go from having a club with stigmatisms around it and with false notions around it to having a club gaining 50 members a year with multiple functioning games happening. So, other than disregarding that stereotype, what did you do that allowed that to happen?
I guess a big thing was like, I guess you could call it marketing. I made a big deal out of like I wear Renaissance Fair T-shirts, which is a similar community to D&D, right? And it's people kind of connect those two things together. I talk very loudly with my friends about D&D, and I talk about it in a positive light. A big thing I did, and I didn't realize how big of a deal this was, but it actually did help, was I talked to Mrs. Hardigan, Mrs. Lawson, a few of the arts teachers about D&D Club, and was just kind of like, yeah, if you think any kids would be interested, send them our way. And that actually happened with a few of the kids that joined this year. They were literally recommended by teachers like, hey, you seem like you'd be interested in this. Go check them out. Like, I'll ask the president, like, what dates it is. And I'll get, like, emails, or, like, I'd ask the teacher in the hallway, and they'd be like, hey, I need to tell a kid when you guys are meeting. When do you guys meet? So that happened. The other thing is for the club fair. I really didn't think the club fair was, like, that big of a deal. But my girlfriend and I decided to kind of go all out for it anyways because it was fun. So I do a lot of projects with, like, cardboard. I guess this is useful context for what I'm going to say. And so I built this giant dice roller out of cardboard. And I 3D printed this huge dice, and I painted it with like gold lettering or numbering. And then the poster board was like supposed to be like a big old quest board type deal. So it had like the information of where the club met, what D&D was generally. It had like a bunch of fun little art all over it of like creatures from D&D, dice, stuff like that. But it had specifically like the times we met, the Google Classroom code, which apparently was a huge thing that people wanted at the club fair, even if they couldn't have their phones or if they weren't writing stuff down.
Yeah.
And then I guess this was huge. We would give out dice to people. So if they came up and they signed up, you would get a free set of dice, which Mr. White buys in these big, like this giant amount from Amazon. And I mean, technically it's like his own money, but I think if we could ask the school and they'd pay for it, but it's like fine. And then the other thing that got people to get their friends to come over was the rolling the dice through the big dice roller. Because if you rolled high enough, which was like I don't remember, like a 10 or higher or something, I don't know. We would give you like a free little plastic dragon. That got a lot of people coming over because free things gets people's attention. And I honestly just thought it'd be like kind of a fun gimmick, but it got a lot of people to come over and then they would read the poster board and I would like explain to them what was up with the club and then they'd bring their friends to the first meeting and they'd, listen to it and try it out. My junior year when I did this, a lot of people came to the first meeting and about half as many actually stayed. This year, about 2/3, 4/5, like a larger amount of people who came to the first meeting actually stayed and signed up, which was huge. I'm kind of surprised that so many people stayed, which but um, it was very exciting for me because I love this community a lot, and so I was happy to see like all the work I had put in to get outreach for this club actually working.
The dice, as someone that had played D&D, is what got me to make sure to sign up for the classroom because I came from the middle school, which has a very struggling D&D club as of when I left it. So the dice got me to join. They are a very tempting thing for nerds.
Oh yeah.
When you started to put this all together, what kind of support did you get from veteran members of the club and from Mr. White?
Um, from veteran members of the club, honestly, my freshman and sophomore year, there was a girl who like was kind of just everyone agreed she was in charge. Like I think she was given teacher privileges by Mr. White just because like I think she asked for them, honestly. Was it Sophie? Was it Coaton maybe? Or maybe it was Olivia? One of those two names. I don't remember. But she was like loosely in charge and she would like whenever I was like trying to get stuff changed or whatever while she was still there, she was like, "Hey, that's really great. Uh Keep doing exactly what you're doing and don't change the club too much." And it's really hard to change this club a lot because like it's kind of just like built up by the people that are in it. It's not like a national thing. I mean, it is, but like not in like an official way. Um, I guess she was the biggest support. There was a few like people I DM'd for my like themselves who were I'm now like still friends with them. They like I would be like, "Hey, I think we need to reach out for this club more. And what do you guys think about how we should do that?" And they would just kind of give like stories about how they got into D&D or how they got into the club. And like I would note down what was successful and not successful about that. They would give me small bits of advice. A lot of this was just kind of figuring it out though, because the club was very held together with strings, duct tape, and a little bit of like I don't know wishes for a while. Um, Mr. White actually was super helpful because he made it so I could actually like send out the classroom code to people. He gave me permissions on the classroom to like organize like folders of information and like set up polls and stuff. And then for the club fair, he bought the dice, he bought the dragons. Um, he asked kids in his comp sci classes to come to the club fair or kids in his seminar, I guess. Like he was like he doesn't do all that much, which isn't a bad thing. It's because I took all of his jobs for this club. But the stuff he did do was mainly just like asking kids to go like just check out what I was doing. That's kind of the biggest support was just like general like positive encouragement and support, and then Mr. White just I don't know, Mr. Whiting it.
You've talked a lot about people in the club are really the ones holding it together. Has that helped you as things have gone on? Is that still really the case now that there's a bit more structure? or has structure sort of overridden the people holding it together themselves?
I think this year it was kind of initially very structurally focused, and then on the day of like people going to the campaigns they were in, it kind of shifted back into the hands of the people, quote unquote. Um, it honestly is super helpful because like my kind of one of my jobs as president, and like you've seen this as I've walked past your table, is at the beginning of each meeting I'm going by and like reminding people, hey, sign into the sheet, but I'm also like asking everyone like how their campaigns are going, and at the end like I'll talk to the other DMs. Um, it's good to just get feedback from people. But the only honestly the only downside of it being so in people's hands is that people just decide not to show up, which is how the club falls apart towards the end of the year or before we added some bit of structure and before I was reminding people, hey, sign into the form. Come on, it's a real club. Um, like people would just be like, oh, I'm not all that interested. I just don't want to join. Um, and it was kind of the fear of being super structured was if it is super structured, like you have to be in this campaign, um, like you have to sign up for your thing, stuff like that. Like it made it so people, if they didn't like their group all that much, or if they decided like they're kind of getting bored with their character, they felt trapped. Which initially happened. There was these two kids. I still feel bad about it. My junior year, who joined, they were having a blast, and then their GM did some big change in the story that was to change everything up, which, it was kind of cool, but they didn't like it at all. So they just left. They could have joined another campaign or they could have talked to their DM about it, but they felt very worried about like breaking the structure of it. I think they came back this year. One of the two did. I'm not going to say their names just for the sake of it, but big thing, I guess, was like there was a bunch of like I make a list. Like I sat there and I spent like a week just like freaking out over this list of people who's in what campaign, who can be together, who wants to not be together, what DMs have running what kind of stuff like that. And it's just really helpful because I will just ask people like, hey, I saw that you really want to be in this campaign, but I know you kind of well and I know the DM and I think you're going to have more fun in this campaign. Is it okay if I put you in this campaign? And then like they would try it out. And if they didn't like it, they would just go back to the original one and stuff like that. Um, so it's been more of a help of it being like in the hands of like built up by the people who are in it a lot. But sometimes that also causes some issues, like people stop showing up, or like if a DM gets really sick or is super busy, that whole in campaigns like a group of like 6 to 10 people just falls apart like like dust. Um, but and now I guess like whenever there's conflicts between people, that was a big one. My I guess it was my freshman year. Oh man. There was this huge group and I'm still friends with most of the people in the group. That they were like honestly they were like the biggest group and the big backbone of the club for a while. Um kind of towards the end of the year, middle-ish, endish of the year, like April, March time period, they some drama involving sleeping with each other's exes and cheating and stuff like that. All with everyone involved in the drama was in the campaign was the problem. So it was like a bunch of just daggers thrown across the tables at each other, basically. Yeah, real explicit episode here.
This is gonna be great. It's gonna be the first one tagged with the explicit mark.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Uh,
But that kind of fell apart, and so it made a lot of the other groups around kind of not worried, but like less energetic about the club. But besides
yeah.
personal issues, it's very held itself together.
The biggest problem with D&D that parties will face or groups of people will face is scheduling. I think anyone that's tried to do a group thing can attest to scheduling's a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
You were talking about people deciding to not show up to the club, just leaving. Halfway through the year, they're gone. Have you seen that less as there's more structure or more as there's more structure? Or is it just in general a struggle as the year comes to an end?
In general, it's a relatively the same type of struggle, but because like Mr. White will send everyone when he can do it, and then I'll send out reminders like, hey, by the way, there is a meeting today, or there is not a meeting today. I'll try to be on that every Monday, and my goal is to either have you or the current president keep on that. It's not necessary, but it's super helpful. when you add like the structure, because then people who are in it and are enjoying it are like, oh yes, that's happening. That's something I like to do. I'm gonna keep doing it. Um, so like I think only like two groups kind of stopped showing up as much, and one of them only stopped showing up as much just because like everyone was busy in that group and they all like talked about it outside of the club. I had to ask them about it. And then the other one was just like literally all of them but one person were seniors. And then mine actually was the same as that. Everyone but one person was seniors. So like it's we're all just done.
Graduated.
Yeah, literally just we're done. Yeah. But it was just helpful because like instead of them having to worry about scheduling their campaign, there was just like me being like, hey, you're meeting today. You're gonna play with your campaign. Um, it helped it a lot, especially for like the smaller groups, honestly. Um, because like with a larger group, if there's people missing, you can just run it anyways. But with a smaller group, if one person's missing, it's really hard to keep running it. But with the full structure, and they knew when they were supposed to meet and whatnot, they were able to run the majority of the year, if not all the year.
You've now run this club for two,
2.5.
3 years. If you had to pick one or two of these many things you've learned that you think applies to more clubs than just a club with role playing and that sort of group, idea, what would you what advice would you give to a incoming freshman, sophomore that wants to start up a new club or grow a club like you did? Is there a bit of advice that you think is crucial for them to have?
Uh, honestly, yeah. Um, don't be afraid to talk about your interests in the club, or like don't be afraid to talk about the intricacies of the club around people. Um, like if you're like in charge of a club or you want to get a club out there that's not just one of the main like DECA or debate or like big clubs, um, just like talk about it a lot and be confident in the fact that you like it and that you think it's good. It helped so much to just like I would talk to my friends about D&D at lunch, and then other groups like there was other groups that were in D&D club or would try it out later. They would overhear us talking, and it was huge to get them into it. Um, I seriously just recommend keeping it open and talking about it to anyone that wants to listen, anyone that will listen. Um, Word of mouth is huge because like wow, like we can go through Pano and the school newspapers and emails and whatnot. It's so different than just hearing it from like your buddy being like, "Hey, let's try out this club. Like, let's try out D&D club, or let's try out I don't know Hacky Sack club or whatever that is."
I've never joined a club because I got an email about it, only because someone tells me to come.
Yep, yep, me too. It's my biggest piece of advice, and the other I guess half of it is like don't aim these conversations towards people you already think would be interested. Like reach out to like anyone. Someone who became like a big part of my current campaign. He played football a lot. Like he's a huge football guy. He loves football. And I think he got like a small injury, so he couldn't do football for like a month, which is a good chunk of the season. But because he had heard me talking about it, he just came to club one day and tried it out, and he was there every single meeting. He was pretty much always on time. He was super into it. One of the most like crucial parts of the campaign, honestly.
Breaking stereotypes. I love it.
Oh, it was huge for the club.
With a sponsor, how important is it to have a sponsor that is with you, is willing to back you, is willing to provide that funding and stuff? How does that help you as a club and as a president of a club?
Honestly, while it is super helpful, it's not huge for D&D club, which I know is like for a lot of clubs not the same, but like for D&D club there is a lot of stuff that we like to buy, like what we like to buy but we don't need. So the dice for the club fair, huge. Gets people into the club. It's very nice. It's a good tactile feeling to watch the dice roll across the table. Little minis, like we've bought the dragons. Somewhere in the school is supposedly a box of like little 3D printed minis that Mr. White bought on Amazon years ago. Probably gone by now, but supposedly he bought those for us. Um, like monetarily speaking, honestly, you don't need money for D&D. And this is something that like not everyone kind of agrees with, but like everything that you need for D&D, you can find for free online. or like exists just like you Google search it. Like if you wouldn't need to roll a dice, you can look up like roll 20-sided dice, and Google has like a little application that pops up, and you just tap it, rolls the dice for you. Every single book that you quote unquote need for D&D, either we have it in the library, we have the older versions. I guess Mr. White has his own personal like online accounts that he's willing to share. If you ask him, big thing. You should ask him for that. And then like I pirate stuff personally. Like I know
Hey,
I
we
go.
can't endorse that on a school podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
But like I have stuff. I have like my own notes, and I find websites for it. Like you don't need to spend the money, but at the same time, like Mr. White has bought us all these dice and all these minis, and he has paid for an account for like the D&D Beyond website, and he bought the books for the library, like stuff like that. Like it's nice to have those things. It makes it easier to keep new people in, but it's also not very necessary for the club, especially if you have people like you and me who just work hard for it and love D&D.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me on another episode of this still pretty new podcast. Thank you for building a club that Wadu now has and that I really enjoy. And I wish you all the luck in college and future endeavors. Where are you going to college?
I'm going to Missouri S&T. It's in Rolla, kind of middle of nowhere, but I don't know. It's a school.
Colleges are often in the middle of nowhere. Oh yeah, gets you a campus. What are you studying?
I'm studying metallurgical engineering, which I might switch that to just like general material sciences, like with a focus in metals, just because like I do blacksmithing and stuff, which I like that. So if I can get a degree in that, it's pretty big.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. To everyone listening, thank you for supporting a new podcast.
Yeah, subscribe to this podcast. Listen to all their episodes. It's great.
Yeah. I'm Keller Strauss, and this has been The Rambling Ram.